Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's Cherika Brown, of course. We're on another episode of Cherika Be Talking, because I be talking. Y'all know as I learn, I teach. And today's episode on October 14th, 2025, I just had to say that date. We're going to be discussing a topic that I had today with a family member. So I got a chance today to sit down and talk with a family member that I don't normally even talk to a lot. And she's older. I don't want to say my relationship to her because I don't want, to disclose anything that she possibly didn't even want to be disclosed. But this particular person, she went through a divorce last year, and I didn't even know that she went through a divorce after being with her husband for over 25 years or so. And I was just asking her, like, what do you think went wrong in your marriage? Because, being an unmarried person in today's society, you hear different reasons as to why people don't work out. But I just like to learn from other people's mistakes and just take heed. And I feel like every moment is always a learning moment. And I just asked her if it wasn't too much to share, what would she say? What was the reason behind her divorce? And she was honestly telling me that if she had to give it a reason, she would just say that her husband was secretive, which is a very much a red flag. And she said he was secretive, and I was like, okay, I can understand that, how somebody can become secretive over time. And she was like, typically when a man starts acting different or a certain way, it's because someone else is in the picture. And another thing she told me, she said he was already a red flag because after being married, he had, kind of up and left about 4 different times on 4 different occasions. And I was just like, wow. I was like, he sounded like the textbook of what these people like to call people these days, avoidant or whatever, the attachment theories or whatever, when people just, have childhood traumas and all of that. I don't really get into those things, even though I know there could be truth to them. I'm just such a black and white, no gray area person. So I feel like if a man is not treating me with respect or he's leaving me, I honestly think that, he just don't like me, or, he's not into me. And I think that's safe for a woman to think, just because that's a good way to protect your heart. And she was like, yeah, so that was another red flag. She was like, and those two kind of go hand in hand with the secretive thing. And she gave like different examples. Like she told me different examples and small things that she possibly overlooked. And then she even told me that with the just not wanting to do certain things, it would let her know, like, that's weird. Like it would throw her off a little bit, and she was just paying attention to small things that made him like not necessarily not a good person, but not a good husband. And she was saying that another thing that she mentioned, she said what won her over in the beginning is that he's a very good person. Like to the core, the person that she know him to be, he's a good person. However, he's selfish. And I think that's one of the most important things, the things that I gathered from our conversation, just, taking everything in and learning, was that you basically let a man's character be his currency. And I was thinking, as she was just saying, ways that he was selfish. And I just think about how people always say love is not enough for a relationship to work. And I just kept thinking that because, love is so powerful that when you love a person, you have no choice but to be selfless instead of selfish. And when you love someone to the core, it'll hurt you to hurt them. Even if that person does you bad, like you still are considerate of their feelings. So I think when I was just thinking and just listening, I'm like, we really have to make sure we marry the person that we love, like unconditionally. We really have to make sure that we're not out here marrying for worldly things. Because if you marry for anything other than genuinely loving a person, it will all come back and backfire. Not saying that this was her situation or anything. I think and I believe, just off hearing her talk, that her love for him was 100% genuine. But what I'm saying is, based off the information that she gave me, I don't think it was the same on his side. And that's where we go wrong as women, because we can love anybody. Like, if we're willing to work through anything, we're willing to, even have the bare minimum sometimes, and understand that things can be a season and we can get better over time. But if you're not with a person that understands that and who loves you genuinely from the bottom of their heart, they look at a rough patch or a rough time as just like a time to run or escape the relationship, or like it was never meant to be. And when she was saying like the secretive stuff, just let her know there's likely someone, else in the picture. And she was saying just how, the selfishness. And I understood exactly where she was coming from, because a wise man once told me anyways that, don't nothing keep a man away from a woman except for another woman, which is, from my experience, 99% of the time, that's the truth. There's rare circumstances where men are, just possibly going through something that they feel isolated with, and they just don't know how to talk to you about something, or they don't, they just suck at communication. But most of the time, it's another woman involved, and they don't just know how to keep it real with you. So just hearing that, I was just taking it all in, just because I'm like, wow, she's resilient for sure, because she's dated other people and everything, and she still has standards and boundaries, and that's what I respected too out of the conversation. It was so good to hear, like, when women are older, they say the older we get as women, the more desperate we get, because we want love and we'll just settle for anything just to get love. But she still has standards. She even mentioned, like, when she was dating somebody and they were like, they started bringing up, getting physical or whatever. And she was like, I mean, we have to be married to do that. So I was like, wow, this is a divorcee that's still setting standards. And I respect that. And I admire that, because as women, you cannot let your body clock and your age and stuff make you insecure, make you feel unworthy, or make you feel less than. You have to hold yourself to a standard and keep those standards no matter what. And never be afraid to walk away and know that when you deserve better. But I hope this message helps somebody, and y'all know I'll be back, because I be talking. Peace.